20 million Wi-Fi hotspots and counting. Fon is one of the world's largest Wi-Fi service providers, and my guest today is CEO of Fon, Alex Pereger. Join us right after this message. All right, everybody, welcome back and welcome to another episode of Wi-Fi Now TV. My name is Klaus Hetting, and this, of course, is the show that brings you all the stories and not least all the great people from across the Wi-Fi industry. And I'm excited today because my guest is Alex Pereger, CEO of Fon. Fon, one of the most visionary Wi-Fi companies out there. And they're doing lots of things, of course, with Wi-Fi hotspots, homespots, and so forth. Lots of cool stuff. I'm going to get to Alex in just a moment. Before that, I want to make sure that you know that we're taking Wi-Fi Now, the Expo and Conference to London, UK, this October 25 to 27. And we will also have, of course, the Wi-Fi Now Awards show happening at the same time. So if you're an outstanding Wi-Fi tech company or a service provider, check out Wi-Fi Now Awards on our website. We have all the 5 categories that you can enter, and I strongly recommend that you do exactly that. Our event program and everything you can find at the URL wifinow.international. And if you have any questions, drop me a line at klaus@Wi-Fi Now events. So that's it for my shameless self-promotion for today. And I'm very happy to introduce to all our viewers out there, Alex Pereger, CEO of Fon. Alex, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Klaus. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to see you again. So, Alex, I want to start off with the basic question of you giving a short introduction to Fon, just so that our viewers know exactly what you're about.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thanks for the introduction already of us being a Wi-Fi visionary. We like to see ourselves as such. Fon is known for when you say describe Fon is known for 2 things, or Fon is known for one thing, we do 2 things. So I'll explain that very briefly. We consider ourselves, and we are the innovator and the inventor of community Wi-Fi. We have the world's largest Wi-Fi network. We have now, as you said, 20 million hotspots of people who share their Wi-Fi. Okay? And we're quite proud of what we've achieved. We started 10 years ago with the vision of creating a Wi-Fi network. We're now at a point where we say, I think, vision on a good track. But we didn't achieve that vision all by ourselves. Right? And that's probably the second thing that we do. We work with telcos, we work with carriers. And if you ask me, describe Fon, I'd say we are on one hand the world's largest Wi-Fi network, or on the other hand, working with carriers to help them to engage in Wi-Fi and basically provide them Wi-Fi services to their customers.
So tell us a little bit about your work with carriers, because as you said, and I consider you the inventor of the hotspot, the homespot concept myself as well. So you mentioned that. So what is it that you're doing with the carriers? And I know you've engaged many of the tier 1s, in fact, and introduced, of course, the homespot concept all over the world. And it's now become nearly standard practice for a lot of tier 1s. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I appreciate you say that. I think that's a dream come true, right? It becomes an idea, becomes into a product, becomes into a successful product, and becomes something standardized. That's how I would see it as well. Now, the reality, though, is not like that. The reality is it's a bumpy way, okay? When we started 10 years ago with our vision, the industry looked at us and said, these guys either are crazy or they're a bit too arrogant, and they cannot rule the whole world and aggregate the whole Wi-Fi world together. Well, the reality is we never were aspiring to do that ourselves. We always thought the right way to create a community, the right way to make closed Wi-Fi into an open Wi-Fi and a managed Wi-Fi is to work together with telcos. Mm-hmm. And hard piece of work, because the first ones you have to convince, and once you have the first one, you can convince the second one, and it goes on. So what we do with carriers is basically, starting from the community concept, we realized that the best way to roll it out is together with a carrier. And the first carrier to work together with was British Telecom at the time. And what we did is we basically took the Fon service of the community. People, you share your Wi-Fi at home, you get access when you go to somebody else's Wi-Fi, and implemented that together with British Telecom. And that really had very positive results for British Telecom and for the community. Impact on churn, impact on their core numbers. And from there, we've evolved a lot. That's now, I'd say, 6, 7, 8 years ago that we started with that. British Telecom was the first one, still a very important part of the community, I'd say. But what we did is from that, we expanded the community. We expanded the network. We work with British, we work with Vodafone, we work with Deutsche Telekom. We work in Japan with SoftBank, we work in Australia. Don't ask me how we did an implementation in Australia. We did another one in South Africa, in Brazil. It's what you say. It became something where, okay, it works and it's easy to globally expand. Once you made it work in one market, you can expand it to other markets.
Mm-hmm.
So
Alex, tell us a little bit about what you think is the main challenge in building the kind of mass market Wi-Fi network that you've been busy now for many years building.
Yeah, see, I think that the challenge of Wi-Fi, okay, and let's talk. If we talk, where do I think Wi-Fi should be? I think Wi-Fi should be something where you say it's another access method. All of us are using Wi-Fi, right? All of us are using Wi-Fi at home, at the office, on the go. If you find a hotspot network like Fons or like BT Fons, like one of those networks, and then every now and then in a cafe and every now and then in an airport, we all use it. The biggest challenge of massification and for it to become really a very useful service and for us to use it every day is seamless access, okay? Mm-hmm. And that is a challenge I think that the whole industry faces. So it's not something that Fons faces. The whole industry faces, I think, the challenge of, you want to make it very easy for your customers to access. And right now it's not. Okay? I think we're doing a good job in harmonizing it. We have 20 million hotspots. Well, I'm talking about there should be 500 million hotspots on the planet, and they should all connect easily to each other and should make it easy for customers to connect. I think that's the biggest challenge we have.
Right, exactly. And which brings me to the next question, which is very relevant, I think, for what you just described, in that you must also follow what Google's been doing on Project Fi, and they also recently released what they call a Wi-Fi assistant to automatically connect to hotspots, and they've been quoted as saying that they have access to millions of hotspots in this manner and seamlessly as well. Do you think the time for services of this kind have finally come? And as a follow-up question, do we have the technology? Do you have the technology to help make this happen?
First, a disclosure, and you probably know, Google is a shareholder, albeit a small, a great one. Okay, and why did they become a shareholder in Fons? We also have Microsoft and British Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, and some venture capital. So we group together people, very different kinds of parties on our shareholders. What do I think? I think it's great that Google is doing this. I think it's a must do. I mean, it's now open hotspots are open for a reason, right? They're open for the reason that we all should be able, or guests should be able to connect to those. What Google has done and what Google is doing is they're basically facilitating the process of connecting to those. I think it's the other question that you have, is it the time for services like this to arise? And maybe the question implies, is it the time for OTTs to actually take an active role in helping with that? Mm-hmm. I absolutely do think so. Okay? And I do think it's a symbiotic undertaking. I don't think this is Google against operators. I don't think this is Google against anybody who's providing Wi-Fi services. I think it's just just make it easier to connect. Okay, and there's some hotspots that are open, some hotspots that are paid, other hotspots that might require you to watch a video, whatever there is. We need to consolidate it, work together to make it seamless. Now we have things as well on our side. Obviously, Google has an operating system that makes it easier. We have things on our side to make the connectivity very easy as well.
So, Alex, you have been very active as Fons, especially over the last couple of years, I think, in emerging markets, right? So what do you think is driving this, and how do you see the future for Wi-Fi in emerging markets?
Yeah, I mean, we started really in Europe, okay? And I wouldn't consider that as, as what I'm going to answer in the second part of the answer. That's not really emerging market. We started here for an obvious reason. There's a lot of broadband, there's a lot of Wi-Fi. we in the last years expanded a lot in other markets that we could consider emerging markets. I wouldn't say those are the emerging markets very often referred to in the financial markets or financial terms. Those, I would consider those semi-emerging markets, okay? Brazil, South Africa, we do some things in Southeast Asia, okay? Those are markets, and the challenge in those markets, and it's even worse in markets where like Africa, is that there's less broadband available. So the value of Wi-Fi is a lot higher, right? Whereas in Europe, it's like everybody has broadband at home, literally everybody or almost everybody. Everybody has Wi-Fi at home. So the challenge is to federate it and make it easily accessible. In other markets where there's less broadband, take India, take Brazil, but other Latin American markets even more so, take Africa, Wi-Fi very often is the only way to get access to the internet. What these markets have in common with Europe is that they use the same mobile phones. They go at the same Facebook pages. They go at the same internet content. So the challenge there is actually one of a much larger value even. And what we do in Wi-Fi there and how we engage there is actually we have different business models. So take a very simple example is one of micro entrepreneurs, right? It's very expensive for an Indian to buy a broadband line. Okay, so you take the broadband line and you resell capacity to other people so you can finance this. It's a win-win situation for the operator because they sell broadband lines that before that person couldn't afford. Win for the micro entrepreneur who runs maybe a grocery store, and win for the consumer who otherwise couldn't afford to get into the internet. So the difference there is different business models. I think Wi-Fi will especially in these markets, grow very much. For us, we see the growth market very much so.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. So let's talk a little bit about the market for SMB, small, medium business managed Wi-Fi. And I know you have some activities there. You have some fairly new products in that space. The idea, of course, is presumably to give something back to the venues that they can use when they offer free Wi-Fi to the clients, but also their visitors, but also in the other direction, so the venues get specific benefit from this. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're not the only ones. I think there's a whole breed of a lot of companies trying to solve the question of, small and medium businesses are offering Wi-Fi to the guests the same way as they offer air conditioning, right? It's a must. Right? And you find the funniest scenarios. You write it somewhere on the board, or they give you a piece of paper, they write it on the back of the napkin. The password, sometimes they leave it open. It's a challenge. That's why there's so many companies trying to solve it. I think we're also, you were in the industry, I'm in the industry, we're sometimes overrating a little bit desire for every shop owner to know the statistics, okay? We do that. It is important. It's hard to say that a shop owner would look at the statistics of Wi-Fi to sell more coffee. I have my doubts about that. I think there's a market for that, but I have a sincere, very strong belief. I think every single shop will offer Wi-Fi to their guests. Every single dentist will offer Wi-Fi to their guests. And I think it's a not just a business opportunity, there's almost an obligation for service providers to offer that, right? So if you want to peek into our strategy is very much enable the ones who sell the broadband line to enable those in a very easy way to provide guest Wi-Fi in a simple way to their guests. Okay? It should just come as part of your broadband subscription. We do have some deployments on that side. Okay, we've worked with some of our operators already. Vodafone Spain is the first one that I can publicly announce. We are deploying our merchant Wi-Fi product. I think functionality is very important. I think distribution for success is equally important, and I think you will see probably a lot of deployments there. Do we get back to the shop owner? Absolutely. We give statistics. We give all those things, but we find different levels of interest depending on the sophistication, I would say, of the shop.
So, Alex, you guys have come a long way in your, 7-8 years is it now? 8 years?
Well, we actually celebrated our 10th anniversary.
Oh, your 10th anniversary? Well, congratulations. I don't think
No, actually, what we do for some of our employees who have been here for 10 years now, they get a pen. As a, like a proper company does.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're still a startup. So we still have a startup culture. We still have we still consider ourselves as a startup. 10 years. We've pivoted a couple of times. We've made some changes, but I would not say we hold on to one thing very strongly, which is Wi-Fi and get Wi-Fi to the masses. Right? That's our mission, and that's how we're doing it.
Oh, you're preaching to the converted, as they say. This is all I'm trying to do from my little office here. But anyway, but you're doing extremely well with it. Anyway, that's really good. I wanted to ask you actually one last question. What's the next big thing for you, if there is such a thing?
Great question. There is, you know what, there's probably not one big thing that I could share with you right now. Even if it was in the pipeline, I probably wouldn't disclose it here without. No, I would say there's a series of small steps. For the industry and for ourselves, probably the biggest step that we're going through right now is really the transition and the communication towards the market, that we're not only doing community Wi-Fi. We are offering to telcos technology that they can run Wi-Fi services. That goes community, which is obviously our stronghold. Right? It's obviously where we come for small and medium business. There is solutions that we can empower municipalities. We run a municipality network where you configure different user experience for 20,000 hotspots. So it is a wide array. That on one hand. On the other hand, we still consider our task to be aggregating a lot of networks. 20 million right now, count that we'll have 30, 40 million relatively soon. We're not giving up on that mission. And I think it can go into the 100 millions, and we're trying and we're working hard.
Mm-hmm. Alex, I do want to ask you about one last thing, actually, one additional question, because I actually sent you that little notice from the EU yesterday, which said, and of course this has not been approved yet, but it is a part of the EU's plan, at least, to offer free Wi-Fi. I think they say to 6,000 to 8,000 communities in Europe, and they want to invest I think the figure was 120 million euros in doing that. What do you think of that plan? I personally love it. I'm hoping that it's going to go ahead.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, let's be. It's maybe not the most expected move. Okay, I didn't expect that the European Commission is going to come up with 120 million euros to run something. I really like, because I read the notice as well. I really like that they say it should be in a way that it's ultra fast. Should be in a way that it doesn't undermine existing businesses. And I think that is very important, because I don't think it's the task of an authority to undermine, disrupt existing business. There's ISPs that do business. There's Wi-Fi service providers that do business. There's other companies. I think it's great. And I do think, I mean, look, I have no doubt that every single municipality will have Wi-Fi. You know, we run around and play Pokemon. I have 2 kids. I play Pokemon all the time. Pokemon Go all the time. Oh, I run out of my data plan in no time. I think we'll run around for data, but we'll also run around for information. Okay, so all these hotspots for municipalities will be digital billboards, right? For whatever you want to make it. So I think the initiative is great. I hope the implementation is not too pragmatic. Honestly, I think a lot of companies should actually engage in that, and we'll work with companies on that. What we're not trying to do, we'll definitely, our technology can be a part of that. We'll definitely try to help companies if they come with business ideas, and we're more than happy to go together to that. I think there's going to be great opportunities.
Right. I also think it's fantastic, and fingers crossed that this will go through and get passed by the various legislative bodies and so forth. So I want to thank you a bunch, Alex, for coming on the show. It's been delightful to have you here, and we want to get you back, and hopefully with some more great news and great announcements from Fons. Great to have you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Great to be here with you.
Thanks. All right, folks, that's it for today. Don't forget to go to Wi-Fi Now International. They register for a London conference. Fon, by the way, will be there, not Alex, but another great person from Fon. And that's it. I'll see you next week for another episode, and thank you for watching.
Wi-Fi Now is a production of RCR TV News. To suggest a show topic or to learn more about Wi-Fi Now events, you can reach Klaus Hedding at klaus@heddingconsulting.com. To find out more about Wi-Fi Now and all things wireless, visit rcrwireless.com.